We have one side, Pakistan, that has been provoking on the other. We have China. Now, China seems to be unveiling its profiling plan. That is happening in Afghanistan, is what we're now learning via our sources. News 18 has now learned that Chinese telecom giant Huawei has got sanction from the Afghanistan government to install CCTV cameras across provinces, and that has now led to concerns that Beijing is advancing towards profiling Afghans to increase its influence in the country. The rationale that China has given is, of course, to identify terrorists, but that's a defense that not many are ready to buy. Let's take you through some of the details of what China is really trying to do. Let's get you details of what the Talibani government source has now told CNN News 18 as far as this entire game plan of Beijing is concerned. Now, Huawei has gotten a sanction from the Haqqani Network as far as operations in Afghanistan is concerned. China's Huawei is going to be installing CCTVs in all provinces across the country. The cameras are going to be installed to ostensibly track the ISIS. That's what China has been saying, the rationale of why Huawei has been given this particular contract. But experts believe that this will help Beijing to profile the Afghan people. It's not to root out extremism as China claims. It really is to profile the people of Afghanistan. Experts also believe that this is going to help China to protect its own citizens and try and keep an eye on them in Afghanistan as well. Experts then go on to say that Chinese plan as far as monitoring the situation in Afghanistan is concerned is now only coming out in the open. Remember, Huawei is a company that has been facing the wrath of many countries globally as far as its surveillance tactics are concerned, which is why this is now raising eyebrows. Abhishek Jha, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details of this latest game plan of Beijing is concerned. Abhishek, it's interesting, not surprising as many would say, of why China is trying to put CCTV cameras across Afghanistan, and it's doing so via Huawei, a company that is notorious as far as surveillance is concerned.
Of course, while we have seen that ever since Taliban regime has taken over the Kabul and Chinese interest, China has been investing heavily in coordination with the Taliban regime and the mullahs to have more access to the natural resources and the minerals and all the facilities, infrastructural facilities that China can use for its advantage and furthering its own economic and trade interest in that region. Now, while China would invest and its workers in Xinjiang and its officials would be traveling to Afghanistan in various locations and sensitive locations as well, it wants to have a protection to their own citizens. Also, recently we have seen how the Chinese interests or Chinese nationals have been targeted in Balochistan, in Pakistan area, along the border corridor. So to prevent that, to preempt any such event happening in Afghanistan, China wants to have a foolproof security setup, and this CCTV camera that is to be installed across Afghanistan could be a part of that larger scheme. Also, it would help the Afghan Taliban to have an eye, a check on the people who are not happy with their regime and who have been part of and who still insist on having that democratic setup, and they talk about liberal society or women empowerment or anything that Taliban seems unfit or non in compliance with the Taliban's regime or the law of Sharia or whatever they have been practicing in Afghanistan. So this CCTV network that is to be laid out across Afghanistan will help both China and the Taliban regime in solidifying their own interests by ruling with an iron fist for the Taliban regime and furthering the economic interest while protecting its own people to the Chinese government.
Right, Abhishek, do stay on with me because let's try and decode why exactly China is trying to do this. What is at stake for Beijing? There are multiple levels of why China is wanting to do this. And let's take a look at what really the significance of this entire move by China via Huawei is. One biggest thing is that, of course, of crackdown on militancy. There we're seeing that China wants Kabul to actually put an end or try and get into action as far as the East Turkistan Islamic Movement is concerned. That is one of the reasons why they're doing this. The ETIM allegedly has links with outfits like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which is why China really wants to get a grip on that situation there in Afghanistan. Now, the Taliban claims that the activists and their guests have been there. The aim is to extend its Belt and Road initiative to Afghanistan as well. The developmental projects that China is undertaking in Afghanistan is also of concern. China's aim is to extend its Belt Belt and Road Initiative as far as the country of Afghanistan and several of its provinces concerned, which is where this monitoring is going to be extremely crucial. The project is going to be seeing construction of railways and bridges as well across Afghanistan as part of the CPEC project. China is concerned that Afghanistan is harboring separatists and their developmental works could come under radar of these separatists, which is why they also want this monitoring and the surveillance to take place. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is CPEC, is extended to Afghanistan, like I just pointed out, which is why it is very, very important for China to keep tabs on what is happening, especially given the state of the economy as far as several of its companies are concerned. As far as the CPEC project goes, China aims to connect the Gwadar port with the Xinjiang province, and which is why they want to keep tabs to ensure that nothing goes awry as far as that plan goes. India has, remember, been objecting to the CPEC project. It transverses through POK. India is not part of the CPEC project, which is why India has objections that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is part of this entire project. So there's a lot at stake as far as China is concerned, which is why they've now resorted to this kind of surveillance methods via Huawei. Abhishek, my colleague, continues to be with us. Now, Abhishek, we're given to understand that the deal has been struck between the Haqqani Network and Beijing. How has India so far reacted on this? Have you heard anything from your sources within the MEA?
So far, there has not been any direct reaction, but we know that India has not been directly engaging with the Afghan regime. There is a technical team of Ministry of Foreign External Affairs that lives in Afghanistan and coordinates with the Taliban regime about the humanitarian way it works and assistance and development assistance that India has been providing to the Afghan people. The security of Indian officials have been of paramount interest, but Chinese intervention and whether it will also impact the Indian security apparatus or their officials present in Afghanistan is something that India has always, has been concerned about. So far, with the latest news that is coming in that China is going to have CCTV across Afghanistan and the deal has been signed, we are still awaiting some official confirmation and official we know how as to what kind of project it will be, how many CCTV will be, where all the positioning of these CCTV will be across Afghanistan, and probably then the official responses from MEA or the other governments can come regarding this CCTV project by the Chinese government in Afghanistan.
Right, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that and putting that in perspective for us.